The State University of New York, in a place called Binghamton, is famous for scholars who have distinguished themselves in the study of the free and the fair market. And they have come to the conclusion that the last free and fair market that the world ever experienced was the market of the Ottoman Islamic Empire. When the strange and mysterious alliance took place between European Jews and European Christians, that strange and mysterious alliance created modern Western civilization, the modern West. And the modern West then proceeded to attack money, to corrupt money, to destroy real money, and to substitute it and replace it with artificial money, bogus, fraudulent money that was totally and utterly haram. If only we could get the muftis of Islam to understand that. They listen to me, but it goes through one ear and it goes out through the other. They've been listening to me for years now, and they're saying, no, Imran is wrong. Imran is wrong. What they did was to remove gold and silver from the market, and to eventually impose upon mankind a law prohibiting the use of gold as money. You probably, some of you hearing this for the first time, that it is now prohibited by international law to use a gold dinar as money. But Allah and His Messenger have ordained as money. They began the process of corrupting money with the creation of the Bank of England at the end of the 17th century. We cannot today give you the history. It's a very interesting history of the stages through which they went through, but Dajjal works carefully, inch by inch. And he does not want your eyes to open to understand what he is doing. So he eventually gave you television that will put you to sleep. The process commenced with the creation of the Bank of England. And England issuing paper currencies. The paper currency was supposed to be redeemable in gold. Redeemable meaning you could take your paper to the bank and the bank will give you the gold, redeemable. But you are setting up people to rip them off, because you issue more paper than you have gold. And when they realize that and they rush to get back their gold, all fall down. And so they are ripped off. And this happened within a few years of the creation of the Bank of England. The process continued after the British ruling state began to transfer power, or the transference of power was taking place to the second ruling state, the United States. The US dollar is redeemable in gold at 20 US dollars for 1 ounce of gold. But somewhere around, must have been 1926 or 27, if I'm wrong, correct me, The Federal Reserve was created. Somewhere around there, the Federal Reserve, a private bank which seeks to impersonate a national bank, a state bank, private bank. And then suddenly the US government does something strange at the behest of the Federal Reserve. In April of 1931, most Americans don't know this. In April of 1931, the US government declared the use of gold, keep gold coins and gold bullion to be illegal. In other words, they demonetized gold. Gold is no longer legal tender. And if you're caught with gold after a certain date, if you do not hand it over to the government, meaning to the Federal Reserve, who will give you $20 to each gold coin that you give them, 1 ounce of gold. If you're caught with gold after a certain time, gold coins or gold bullion or gold certificates, you go to jail for 6 months and pay $10,000 in fine. That's a lot of money in those days. And so all the Americans rushed to give their gold to Uncle Sam and to take the paper at $20 an ounce. And then, of course, the sensible ones, the ones who knew the scam that was coming along, they didn't give Uncle Sam their gold. No, they changed all the paper that they had for gold. And then they shipped the gold to Switzerland, outside of Uncle Sam's reach, because they knew what's coming. And this is why today, you see all around the United States, people wanted to buy gold, because they know what's coming. In January of 1934, the US government, at the behest of the Federal Reserve, now remonetizes gold. It cancels the legislation. You can now come back and buy back your gold from Uncle Sam. But Uncle Sam changed the value of his paper. His paper was $20 to 1 ounce of gold. And Uncle Sam decided from this day it'll now be 35. 35. I'm telling you this story so you could understand what Allah is saying in the Quran when He said, وَلَا تَبْخَسُ النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. And He said it 3 times in the Quran. So we rushed to buy back our gold from Uncle Sam, and we paid him $35 an ounce. After the American people had bought back their gold, Uncle Sam was left with 41% of the wealth of the country in his pocket. By the simple expedient of devaluing the money, by the simple expedient of devaluing the paper, the American government ripped off the American people to the tune of 41% of their wealth. You did not have gold. And so Richard Nixon went to Camp David and then on Sunday announced to the world, we gave our word, but we don't have to keep it. And he tore up Bretton Woods. That's what he repudiated. A treaty obligation. just repudiated it. And the very foundation of international law, on the basis of which we can have an ordered world, is pacta sunt servanda. Pacta sunt servanda. The treaty obligations must be honored. Pacta sunt servanda. Treaty obligations must be honored. Surah Al-Ma'idah begins with that same statement. At the very beginning of Surah Al-Ma'idah, when you give your word, you must keep your word. And if you cannot, then seek forgiveness from Allah, give charity, free a slave, fast, and make tawbah, repent for it. But no, he said, we gave our word, we don't have to keep it. And he tore it up. So since September 1971, no paper money in the world, none, is redeemable in gold on the basis of law. It's just paper. By 1973, when the war took place between Israel and the Arabs, the US dollar had collapsed to 160 from 35. 160. By January 1980, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, the US dollar collapsed to 850 to 1 ounce of gold. And as we speak now, you can go on the internet and check. I'm sure it's somewhere around 1,000 now as I speak. Above 1,000, above, just cross 1,000. What happens when the value of money falls? The answer was provided in 1931 with that test shot. If you did not understand it, what happened in 1931 should make it clear that when the value of this money falls, people are ripped off. There's a massive transfer of wealth from the unsuspecting masses to that predatory elite. This is the biggest rip-off that mankind has ever had the misfortune to experience from the time that Adam alayhi salam set foot on earth to this day. And you don't need a degree in economics to understand it. I have just explained it to you so simply. It is so easy to understand. I didn't even have to use any sophisticated, complicated language. Even a farmer could understand what I have just explained. This is riba. And they have used this bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram monetary system as a vehicle for riba. And they have ripped off mankind, and the rip-off is complete. It's finished. They have already impoverished the masses around the world. And they have already transferred that wealth to the elite around the world, who now live in unprecedented wealth and luxury. In Egypt, in Indonesia, you should see them in their 5-star restaurants having dinner, with of course so many security guards outside, because they're scared of the poor. The rip-off is complete, through riba. And they are now set to rule the world. But this is not the end of the story. Tomorrow they would not need the paper money anymore. When Israel takes over from the United States as a new ruling state in the world, the US dollar will have to give way as the international currency. So I asked myself, which currency is going to take over? Is it the Israeli shekel? And while all the money in the world is going down in value, Israel's money is not. And then I realized, no, they're not going to remain with this bogus and fraudulent monetary system of paper currencies, because they have something better than that in store for you. At least with the paper currency, you could take it home and give it to your wife and tell her, put it away. At least with the paper currency, you could keep it at home. Nobody knows how much money you have. At least with the paper currency, you can give it in charity and nobody will know how much you gave and who you gave it to. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to be able to conceal from them how much you have. They don't want you to be able to give even 1 cent to anybody, and they don't know about it. Well, how are they going to do that? Are they going to appoint police in every home? They don't need to do that. All that they have to do is to trigger a 2012, I believe it's called, to trigger a monstrous, a massive catastrophe in the world which will bring down the whole thing. The US dollar crashes and it'll bring down with it all the paper money in the world. And if you're caught with the paper, you can use it as wallpaper. And they have something to replace it. It's money you can't feel, you can't touch. It's money you can't see. Who is going to accept money I can't see and money I can't touch? No. They're going to say, well, we're bringing to the world progress. It's called a cashless economy. And that's supposed to be progress. A cashless economy. You can't pay with paper anymore. That's old-fashioned. No. Now it's electronic money. Are they going to get away with it? Electric impulses? That is now money? Yesterday you took a piece of paper, you printed a picture on it, you put a number on it, and you assigned an entirely fictitious value to it. And you made wealth out of nothing. That's shirk. But all the cattle in the world accepted it and were using it. And in the process of accepting your paper and using your paper, they were themselves transferring their wealth to you. You have to hand it to Dajjal, he's real smart. But now they don't need that anymore. Electronic impulses will now become money. Governments will no longer be able to issue money. No. Banking system around the world and a computer keyboard, and they will control the banking system. And so all the money in the money system of the world will be in the banking system. And so they will know how much money you have, you can't hide it. And they will know how you're using your money. They will know when you bought and how much you bought and how much you paid. Every single thing is recorded. And when you give money to the masjid, they will know who you are. When you give money in charity, they know who you are. And if you're so stupid as to send any money at all to Palestine, they're going to send you to Guantanamo. So what we have in store for us tomorrow is the equivalent of a financial Guantanamo. It's not just anymore riba being used to rip you off. It is more than that. That the new monetary system is meant to not only rip you off but also to enslave you, to rob you of your freedom. This is Dajjal's most dangerous weapon. And he's already used the weapon. What do we do? How do we respond? Tomorrow we're going down to Cedrus. We say it is not possible to respond with a macro response. No, we don't have the power for that. We say only a micro response is possible. And that micro response is a remotely located Muslim village in which we will bring back the Sunnah money, gold and silver. And if you do not allow us to use gold and silver, then we will use commodities of food consumption in abundant supply in the market.